Life speaks. It speaks through struggles and success, through music and messages, the preconceived and the unexpected. Whether you are in the depths of the valley or in the midst of your mountaintop experience, everyone needs to be encouraged from time to time. Here we will share stories of strength, testimonies of triumph, verses of victory, observations, and information meant to touch the heart and uplift the soul, to keep you on your path of purpose and navigate this thing called life with power and authority. This is Andrea L. Hines, and I'm your host for When Life Speaks, here on ALH Broadcasting, an affiliate of the Streaming Inspirational Broadcast Network. I am glad you accepted the invitation to join us tonight. There's something in this broadcast just for you, and if it is going to be a blessing to your life, it will be to someone else as well. So share, tag, start a watch party, and invite someone you know to join us. Then turn down the volume of life and get ready to receive, so that when life speaks, you'll speak life. Good evening, and welcome to When Life Speaks. This is your host, Andrea L. Hines, and you have tuned in to us right here at ALH Broadcasting, and we're an affiliate of the Streaming Inspirational Broadcast Network, and we are so glad to have you with us this evening. We're always glad when you stop by on Thursday evenings, but I tell you what, this is a very, very special evening. We have one of our favorite guests on with us tonight, and I can't wait for him to talk with you. We have a lot going on, and I'm glad that he is going to be a part of it. And I welcome Pastor Kelvin Little. Welcome to the program tonight, and welcome Pastor Valerie Sims. Glad to have you in the house tonight as well, and I know we'll have some other people coming in, and Alan is always good to bring in the other countries when they come on the line so that we can welcome them properly as well. Well, let me tell you, there's a lot going on at ALH Broadcasting. You have got to stay tuned and see what is happening in the month of August. We have some new shows coming in. We have some exciting guests that are going to be with us next month. We have a couple, Rick and Jane. Rick and Jane are going to be with us, and they are going to talk about their walk across America. You heard me right. Their walk across America. They started in California and they ended up in Washington, D.C. And they're going to be sharing their travels along the way. I tell you, they are an amazing couple. And their story is an amazing story, and you don't want to miss that. It's going to be in August. We're going to be advertising it a little bit later, sure up the date. I believe it is August the 17th, but I'm almost afraid to say it because that may not be the right date. But you know what? You stay tuned because we are going to have it. Hey, good evening to you. Miss Ida Batts is on the line with us tonight. Ida is a faithful listener of When Life Speaks and part of the ALH Broadcasting family. So we're always glad to have her with us. Look, I need you guys to do me a favor. If you have a particular topic that you want us to address, that you want us to discuss, that you want us to shed some light on, be sure to send that information over to me at speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. That's speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. If you would like to be a guest on the program, guest as in coming in and sharing your story of strength or your testimony of triumph, or as a guest host, Love to have you. Would love to have you. Love to be able to share your story with the world. Yeah, with the world. That's right. We are in other countries as well as being right here at home. But if that's your desire, please send me an email, speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. That's speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. And let me see what else I can tell you. We've got a lot. We've got a lot coming down the pike, a lot that's happening with some of the programming that we have. Don't forget about the newsletter. The When Life Speaks newsletter comes out the first Monday of every month. And if you have not subscribed to it, be on the lookout, because that subscription information will be posted very, very soon. I think we got one more week. Yeah, one more week before that comes out. And you don't want to miss it. I always have people to introduce you to, and we always have good topics for you to just kind of ponder, things to think about. We do a lot of things to think about that will encourage you. And we have different parts of When Life Speaks. We have our Keep Faith Flowing. And we have our prayer program sometimes. We have stories of strength, and we have testimonies of triumph. We have what we call the power of one. We like to see what it is when one person can make a difference. Then we have senior sidebar. We have some things, we try to search out things that are of particular interest to our seniors. But you know what? It's not just seniors that show up. Anybody can show up, because we always have those times where we say, if I had known then what I know now, I would have changed some things. I would have done some things differently. So we try to share that information with everybody. And we try to make sure that you are up on what's happening. And every now and then, probably about once a month, we have what I call E2. And that is our evening of encouragement. I read a little poetry, and whatever it is God gives me, whatever encouraging word, whatever word of inspiration he wants me to share, I try to do that. It's a good evening to just kind of sit back and relax and turn down the volume of life for real, for real, for real, and just sit back and listen and be encouraged. But tonight, we have our favorite leadership guru in the house, and that is Pastor Steve Sims. And we're going to take a break and a breath right here. And when we come back, Man of God has got something for us, so you stay tuned. Share. Be sure to share. We'll be right back. Well, look who's here. Steve Sims.
Ta-da! Ta-da!
Welcome to When Life Speaks. How are you, sir?
I am doing marvelous, Dr. Hines, and thank you so much for having me again. I don't know what I have done to deserve this privilege to be with you again, but I am really excited, and I'm very grateful for it. So thank you so much. How are you today?
I am doing well, and I'm excited about this evening. And I was looking back at some of the things that you have shared with us. You have talked with us about influential leadership. You have talked about the leader, the mentor, the man. You've talked to us about purpose and assignment. And last time you were with us, you talked about leadership in a changing world. And I tell you, every time you have come on the program, you have given us things to think about. You have given us things to do. And we are just grateful that you are able to be with us, first of all, because I know your schedule is extremely busy, but the knowledge that you leave us with, the wisdom that you leave us with, the nuggets that you leave us with they're just always helpful. I don't care who you are, and I don't care where you are in your journey. So I thank you for that. And I am looking forward to tonight because one of the things that we are always talking about, we go through cycles, and there's some things that you hear
Mhm.
very frequently sometimes. And one thing that we are hearing more frequently is about the king. I am the king in my
Absolutely.
home. Talk about
Yeah.
kings and
Right.
priests. And we can be kings by
Right.
title, the men of the house. We want to raise them
Mhm.
up and encourage them. But you can't be a good king without being a good leader.
Correct.
You can be a good leader and not be a king, but you can't be a king and not be a good leader.
That's absolutely correct. That is absolutely correct.
So I am glad that you are with us tonight. You have something that you do with in talking specifically to a men's group. And I want you to tell us a little bit about that. First of all, I think that's something that you do on Thursday nights. Is your Kingdom Fellowship? Is that what it's called?
That is correct. Yeah. Every third Thursday. We do it every third
Third
Thursday,
Thursday. Mhm.
and it's called Kingdom Fellowship. And it's just simple principles. Elder Hines, I've come to find out that sometimes we make this thing so difficult when all we've got to do is follow the principle. It's kind of like a navigation system. You want to get to your journey, you follow that navigation system. It will.
Yeah.
A lot of times we want to go off course because we think we know where we're going when we have to depend on that navigation. So it's the same way with principles. If you follow the principles, you get the results. So it's kingdom principles yielding kingdom results.
Awesome. That is awesome. And tonight you're
Yeah.
going to be talking about building the leader in the king. And I tell you what, this is one of those programs where I get to sit back, get my pen. I'm still pen and paper. Get my pen because I can't type fast enough on my phone. But but I've got something here, and I encourage you all to listen carefully. I see Lynn has joined. Good evening, Lynn. Thank you for coming on this evening. But get something where you'll be able to grab hold and keep these nuggets and this information that Pastor Sims is going to share with us tonight. So, Pastor Sims, I am turning the floor over to you. Teach us, tell us, share with us. You've got it.
Well, again, thank you, Dr. Hines. I mean, and to the audience, I greatly appreciate you guys taking out of the time. Everybody have long days, and so I know that it's a privilege for you guys, for me to have you just listening to me today, and so I don't take that for granted, and it's greatly appreciated. I think today I've kind of pondered a little bit, Elder Hines, of you and I have been talking briefly about this, and as we look at toward building kings and building kingdom men, I think what has dropped in my spirit today is the principle of kingdom living leading is first you have to be led.
Mm,
A lot of people want to lead and they've never been led. So how do we become a great leader if we've never been led? And
mm,
the Holy Spirit was really dealing with me that today about that. So we have to be led first. Great leaders typically come from people that have been led greatly. And so that is the concept of it. So I think a lot of times, and that's whether you're in ministry, whether it's in your own home, whether it's in business, how have you been led? And so good leadership develops good leaders. And so as we build men and as we build kingdom men, I always look at how they have been led. If you've been a great leader, a great man of God told me this: you become what you need. So if you need to become a great leader, then you have to be someone that's been led. Typically, I've kind of found out that sometimes people are not leading correctly because they were not led correctly. They were led incorrectly. And so now they're just reproducing what they have done. And leadership, and that's a good word right there, producing, because really good leadership is simply reproducing. If
mm,
we're going to be great leaders, we must reproduce. And so the question is, what are you producing? What are you producing, and what are you reproducing? Are you doing it the right way, or are you doing it the wrong way? And so this is another saying that I think is very instrumental right now in our conversation, Elder Hines, is here we grow, again. Did you catch that?
Yes.
Here
Yes.
we grow again. So
Mm-hmm.
not go again, but here we grow again. So we should always be looking to grow. We should always be looking for change. I think when we deal with, particularly as I've had the privilege of dealing with men and just leaders in general, one of the things we think sometimes that we have arrived, that we have obtained, and we stop reading, we stop learning, we stop searching for more information on how to do things better and differently, because there's always a different way and a better way. So we cannot get comfortable. I think that scripture, don't grow weary in well doing, I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking at it at a different tone nowadays as well. Don't grow weary, don't grow comfortable, don't go. Uh, my son asked me something so profound one day. He says, Dad, how do we not get comfortable being uncomfortable? How do we not get comfortable being uncomfortable? How do we not get, and I pondered on it. I'm like, wow, that is so awesome. That's a great question. Because typically we will get to the point where we think we have arrived and we forget, what is it? Is it Philippians? I've got it wrote down, Philippians 3:13, I believe it is. Yeah, 3:13. And if you allow me to, I'm going to read this a little bit because I think it's so awesome to what we're talking about. So I'm reading it out in the Message Bible, Philippians 3:13, but it's talking about, the theme of this is focusing on goals. Focusing on goals. So it says, I'm not saying that I have all of this together. I'm not saying that I have all this together, that I have made it, but I am well on my way, reaching out for Christ who has so wondrously reached out for me. Friends, don't get me wrong. By no means do I count myself an expert in all of this. But I've got my eyes on the goal, where God is beckoning us toward him. He's beckoning us onward to Jesus. I'm off and running, and I'm not turning back. So let's keep focused on that goal, those of us who want everything God has for us. If any of you have something else in mind, something less than total commitment, God will clear your blurred vision. You'll see it yet. So now that we're on the right track, let's stay on the right track. So as we are building leaders, that's one of the things we can never stop thinking about. We can never stop thinking and focus on the goal of what's ahead of us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like that. I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And I wanted to ask you too, as you were talking about, here we grow again.
Yes, ma'am.
Just thinking about that, and the things that you were mentioning that you can never stop doing. And
Hmm.
one of the things I know they used to tell us, to be committed to
Absolutely.
lifelong learning.
Yes.
You
Yes.
cannot go on this journey and expect to lead without being fed yourself. So when
That's
you're
right.
talking about being led the right way, I
Right.
think that is very, very important. But
Hmm.
I want to ask you about something that actually hadn't come up in our conversations, but I was thinking about it just now as
Okay.
you were speaking, and you were talking about how you were led, and that has a lot to do with how you will lead.
Sure.
But one of the things that comes to mind that I think about, especially when you talk about thinking that you have arrived,
Sure.
a good leader, I think, has to be able to handle correction.
Oh, no doubt.
And that's something that we don't talk about a lot when we talk
Hmm.
about leadership and
Hmm.
building leaders. Talk to us a little bit about correction when it comes to leadership.
That's good. It's humbling. Leadership can be very humbling. Leadership is not for the faint of heart. You have to have tough skin to be a leader. And when you are being led, there will be times when you will have to accept correction. Um, constructive criticism. You will have to be shaped. One of the things when we talk about the potter, elder, and I've read this, I'm always getting revelation through songs. So I was hearing this song, and you might have heard me play this song, elder, before, talking about the potter. So when we start thinking about the potter and him beginning to shape us and to mold us, we sometimes think that that's pretty much a very soft production, but it's really not. If you've ever watched an actual potter that begins to build pottery, man, he has to take that clay, and sometimes he has to forcefully grind it and groom it. And he has a table. The potter has this table that he will begin to form this clay on, and he forcefully puts it on that table. It's not a soft and gentle thing
Right,
to
right.
become what the potter. He forcefully throws it on there, and then he begins to grind this clay, and he begins to mold this clay. And through this particular song that I heard, it talks about the fact that he said that the potter threw it on there. He says, you have to force it on there. Don't worry about hurting it. It will become what you need it to be. And so he began to force it. He said, now pick it up and you begin to just, run your hands through it and play with it. He said, you feel that? He says, no, feel what? He says, you will know when the clay is ready when it stops resisting you, when it stops
Wow.
fighting you.
Mm.
So a lot of times as we are being led and we are being groomed, it is a force that is happening in our life. It is a
Good,
force that is beckoning us to go into the direction that God is seeking for our lives. Because if we are under great leadership and he's getting those downloads from heaven, from the person that's leading, then I often tell people this: God's hand is heavy. When God begins to point you in the direction he wants you to go, when he puts his hands on you, trust me, it's with force, because 9 out of 10 of us don't come willingly.
Yeah, right,
We
right.
have to be forced. There has to be situations and circumstances. And you've heard me say this before: God will create situations for revelation. So
Mm-hmm.
he's going to create situations and revelation to get you to where you're going. So to answer your question and come back to that question, yeah, we have to humble ourselves, and we have to allow ourselves to be corrected. We can't know that we know it all. We can't think and know that we know it all. We have to consistently keep our ears and our spirit open to receive downloads, because God is always downloading, whether through himself or through someone that you are under. Submission, when I look at the word submission, submission is simply this: submission means something is going to submerge under you to lift you. That's submission. When a submarine it goes in under the water, that water now is upholding it. The water upholds it to prevent it from going completely down to the bottom. It's not going to go down to the bottom. It's not going to sink unless there's a problem. We've had a problem with one a couple of weeks ago, a month or so ago, but that was a totally different issue. That was man trying to do something that man wasn't created to do.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, no one wants to submit anymore. Everybody wants to do things on their own and not take responsibility or be held accountable. So really, leadership is accountability. That's what it is. So submission to leadership, all it is accountability.
Accountability.
Yes, ma'am. It's
Okay.
accountability.
Let's see. I'm making my notes over here.
Yeah, but again, it's just not for the faint. We have to know that we are God's markmanship. He says, "You are my markmanship." And so, in order for us to become His markmanship, in order he had to humble himself. Christ Himself humbled Himself, and so we
Mhm.
must humble ourselves and know that we're on a journey. And as you're on a journey, you know what I've also found out, Dr. Hines, is on this journey we will encounter disruptions. You will encounter disruptions, and you've got to know how to handle those disruptions, because I found out that these disruptions, they're simply upgrades. So as we go along the way, disruptions will come to so that we can upgrade. It's just like your computer. It's just like your phone. After so long, it's going to ask you for an upgrade. And if you don't allow it to upgrade, it'll shut down.
Now,
So
let me ask you something. What, because we talk about this other word a lot as well. Is there, or what is the difference between a disruption and a distraction? Or do
good
you
question.
think there is a difference?
They're very similar. Distractions really come to take us off course. So a disruption is to bring attention to where you're going and to make sure that you're dropping boosters off and you're dropping things that you don't need to carry with you into your destination. So
Okay.
that's what disruptions are. But a distraction will come to remove you from your course. It wants to take you completely off course so that you don't win the prize that's before you. So the difference is one is there to upgrade you because sometimes we don't move when we should. And because it's
Right.
uncomfortable because we have to leave something old to go to something new. And that is very uncomfortable. We don't like new things. We say we do, but we really don't like it. Leave me alone. Leave me right here where I'm at. Which is, what do they call that? What's the terminology for it? It'll come to me in a moment. But basically, we love just kind of being where we are, and sometimes that's being stuck. And so we think we're doing okay. I've had many disruptions in my life, and I'm still having them where God says, okay, no, you have not apprehended yet. Don't get stuck here. I didn't tell you that this was the plateau. I didn't tell you this is your ceiling. So in order to do that, now he sends a disruption my way to remind me that first of all, he is in control and he is in charge, but now that distraction is like those little gnats. They can't harm you. They can't do anything to you. Only thing they're going to do is get in your way. And I've heard a man of God talk about this. He was going somewhere and he had someone in the car with him. As a matter of fact, he wasn't driving. He was riding along with someone. And someone started asking him questions about, he wanted to just kind of pour into him. He had the opportunity to just, talk about what he's been going through and going. And then he waited because he thought that this person was going to really just kind of come in and say, now, poor pastor, that you'll be okay. But he asked him this simple question. He says, you're driving, right? He said, yeah, I'm driving. Get to the point. What you want? He says, so if a gnat gets in this car and you start swinging at this gnat, something so minute, and we wreck this car going where we're going over a gnat that can't harm you, has nothing to do with your destination, but you're swinging at it, you're swatting at it. So that's where distractions comes in at.
That's it. That's
Yeah,
it.
but that's a distraction.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. I like that.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that.
But disruptions, they really come to make us pause and think about where we are actually going. And do we need to do something differently? It's okay to reroute every once
Yeah.
in a while. That GPS, every once in a while, it'll reroute you because it knows what's ahead.
Right.
We don't know. Have you ever been riding that ditch and it'll tell you, man, railroad track coming, or police ahead, or that's for you speeders, police ahead, or some object in the road. I've had mine to tell me that an object is in the road. So that's just a disruption in your normalcy to make you aware that an event or something is coming your way.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to ask you one more thing before we kind of switch over into part two here. But there's something that is not talked about a lot when you talk about the things that you need, tools that you need, the way that you need to be equipped to be an effective leader. And as you are building that, one thing that is not always built into the equation, if you will, um, is the issue of vulnerability.
Okay.
Because when you talk about leadership and effective leadership, there is weight, definitely weight.
Absolutely.
that goes along with that. And
Hmm.
a lot of times when you're talking about thinking that you have arrived, that
Hmm.
carries with it a
Sure.
myriad of things, like, thinking that you don't need help, thinking
Hmm.
that you have to know it all,
Right.
not wanting anybody to know that perhaps there is a lack somewhere.
Right. Right.
How just give us a couple of things that you think might be helpful as you building the leader in the king, as to how to handle that vulnerability.
Cool. Um, that's a great question as well, too. I think we first of all must realize that we cannot arrive overnight. So we have to understand that this is a process. So a
Hmm.
lot of times people will look at people that have been on the journey for 20, 30, 40 years, and they want to arrive there in 2 years, in 3 years, in 4 years. And that is too much weight to try to carry at one time. You can't put 40 years into 2 years. So
Right.
you must go through your process. So I think that's what's called process. So
Hmm.
don't be afraid to take your time and to go through your process. Again, as we're being built, not, you know, I think that's where people start wanting to be seen. That's when they become title conscious. They
Hmm.
want titles. And a great leader does not need a title, doesn't need a title. Uh, a great leader, so you don't need to be seen. You don't want to necessarily, you don't lead to be seen, but you should be seen leading.
Ah, that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. So you
That's
don't need to be
good.
seen, but you should be seen leading.
Leading,
Yeah.
seeing
So don't do
leading.
it because you want to be seen. Lead it, do it because you should be seen leading, because that's what elevates you. And it's your servitude. All leaders, simply, a leader is simply a servant. If you're doing it for any other reason, it will become weighty on you. You have to know that you're doing it from a servant's heart and from a servant's position. That's why I caution people to be very careful when you start asking for these titles. When you start asking for the pastoral, you start asking for the eldership and so on and so on. You don't have to ask for that. That's something that will be chosen. You will be chosen. You will be qualified. To much is given, much is required. So let your qualification come through your process. You don't have to ask for it. You don't have to worry about it. You've heard me say this before, Elder, that um, you have to be before you become. Do you remember that statement?
Yeah. Hmm.
You have to be. So I didn't just become Pastor Sims. I was being that, and God saw it, and someone else saw it, and elevation came.
Hmm.
So I wasn't doing it for elevation. I was doing it to serve. And
Right.
so because I was doing it to serve, then elevation came.
Right.
And
Ah.
and and because elevation came and I didn't apply for it, I didn't give out cards for it, I didn't knock on the door for it. Now I'm able to carry the weight of it,
Hmm.
because God will give you the capacity to handle the assignment. If
Hmm.
you get the assignment without the capacity, you will fail. And you know what you will become? You will become, and I see it so often now and so frequently, you will become a damaged leader.
Yeah. Right. Right.
So
Very.
when we see damaged leaders, most of the time, damaged leaders come from someone that did not go through their process.
Hmm.
They took it upon themselves to elevate themselves, and they
Hmm.
didn't allow time, process, and tenure to elevate them.
Hmm. That's good, Pastor Sims. And I
Yeah.
tell you what, there is so much good work that you are doing in building the men. And Alan, I think there's something that you want to share now, if you can. Let me see if he can put that up for us. I am very, very happy that Pastor Sims is going to be going into something a little bit different. And
Yeah.
there it is. There it is. Look, I've always wanted to say, put your hands together and put your hands together moments, because I am so excited. Pastor Sims, I have always wanted to have a program that would really address our men and men's issues and leadership and all of those great things. So effective the first Monday in August. And I want everybody to circle their calendars the first Monday of every month from now to the end of the year. Uh,
Yes.
Pastor Sims is going to have a program, his own program, right here on ALH Broadcasting, and it is called Under Construction. And I
Yes.
tell you what, I could not be
I'm gonna clap my own hands on that one.
excited. Absolutely. You all, if you're on a device where you can send up some hearts, I want you to do that. I want you to send up some hearts and encourage our own Pastor Sims, building men for kingdom assignment. And
Yes.
I tell you what, I know that this is going to be a successful program. Our men need it, and women, you are not eliminated from this
Absolutely
as
not.
well, because there's information. You got kings in your household.
Yes.
Got
Yes.
kings that you're trying to raise. You've got kings that you work with, the folk who think they are. And this is just, it's just going to be absolutely amazing.
Yes.
You can leave that up, Alan. But Pastor Sims, talk a little bit about your program and what you intend to do.
Yeah, well, first of all, I am so grateful to ALH Broadcasting for allowing me this opportunity to participate with this. This is just, it's a dream come true. It's something I've desired to do. I love building men. I love encouraging men to become the kings that God has designed and for us to be. And we are a work in process. We don't get there overnight. And so under construction is going to simply give us a process and tools to work. So as I think about, and I'm just going to give you a snippet here. I can't, you got to come to the show. So the show is going to give you, but when I think about being under construction, I think about buildings. So several things about buildings, Elder Hines and audience. The higher the building is built, the deeper the foundation has to go.
Mm.
So when you see these these huge skyscrapers in these cities and things like that, can you only imagine how deep the foundation has to go to be able to sustain that? So that's one thing about it. We're going to talk about how, the higher you want to go, the deeper you have to go in God. The deeper you have to
Oh.
receive knowledge and revelation from God so that he can sustain the height that you're going to. It's kind of like when we look at tall people. I'm pretty tall. I don't consider it, but till I see pictures of me standing by people. But I'm 6'3". So at 6'3", I would look funny being 6'3" and wearing a size 5 shoe. Because that my it won't sustain my height. It just will. So I had to grow the foundation in my footing. And so in order to build something, to sustain something, there has to be good footing to be able to do that. So we're going to be talking about how do we, because when you first look at building anything, the first thing you do when you build anything is you have to survey it. You cannot build anything without surveying the land to see if it's optimal before you to even build on it. So the first thing they do is they survey. So what is it that we're surveying? We're surveying our lives. We're seeing where we are now, and we're determining if where we are now is good enough for where we're wanting to go, or do we need to begin to build toward our destiny? And so it's going to really give men step by step knowledge of how to become what you are wanting and designing to be. So it's going to be phenomenal.
It certainly is. I can hardly wait. I tell you what. And I am so glad I won't have to wait much longer.
No, but you said something. I want the women to know that they will be invited. There will be some shows where I will have Pastor Valerie on with me, talking about how she had to pray for me and how she had to say, Lord, save this man, get this man together, work on him, Lord. Because again, I was a work in process. I didn't just, I didn't, I wasn't just born Pastor Sims. My
Right.
name is Steve. I was born Steve,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to become what I am today. And it's taken me 30 years of my life. This is 26 years of ministry in me.
Mm-hmm.
And so becoming that and being submitted, as you stated earlier, to the kingdom process of God.
Mm-hmm.
And and just waiting on my turn, not forcing it, but waiting on God. And when you wait on God, He will sustain you.
Yes, yes, that he will. That he will.
Yep.
And
Yep.
we're going to have a program coming up very soon on When Life Speaks, talking about waiting, the timing
Oh,
of God,
wow.
waiting on the timing of
Absolutely.
God.
Absolutely.
And that is so important. Pastor Sims, I tell you what, whenever you come by, you always just have a way of giving us not just what we need, but a little bit of dessert on the side. We get a
Well, I
little bit
thank you.
extra whenever you come by, and and now I won't have you to come by anymore.
Oh, I'll still come by. Oh, well, I have you to, and I'll say this. Um, this is something that, again, that I've desired to have, and but at the same time, you never get this way on you. I didn't get this to here without you and Alan and your trust and your belief in me. And so I am asking God to just get me here so that I can turn around and give back. So you will be on my show. You will have you will have something to say. There's too much wisdom in you. There's too much knowledge in you.
Thank you.
You and you have become just my source. Not only my source of inspiration, my source where I can, if I'm going through anything, if I'm buffering, I can
Yeah.
turn to you, and you have this way of just getting me to where I need to go. And I want to say publicly to you, thank you. Thank you. You've been such a big inspiration to my life, and you continue to do that. And I love you with all of my heart. I really do.
Well, thank you. Thank you for saying that, Pastor Sims. And when I had this opportunity, because it came to me 1 year after I had been on the air, and
Hmm.
Alan talked with me about having a station, and I thought, what on earth am I going to do with the station? Why would I do that?
Right.
And sometimes, and this I think is going to be part of the newsletter. Sometimes you just need to say yes and
Absolutely.
allow God to continue to make the way plain and
Absolutely.
to do some things that He wants to do through you. I cannot wait because I know that there is so much in you that you have to share that is going to make a phenomenal difference in
Hmm.
countless lives. And when I see the Virgin Islands come in, and when I see the Bahamas come in, and
Yes.
I see other countries, coming in, you are touching their lives, and you're
Wow.
touching their lives with these leadership principles and kingdom principles, and they will be forever changed. And
Sure.
that's what ALH broadcasting is about. We don't want to come on and debate and fuss and
Right.
get into all of that. There's enough of that out there
Sure it
already.
is.
We want to encourage, we want to inspire, we want to uplift, we want to give people information that will be helpful for them on their journey to becoming.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I am so grateful for you. I'm thankful that you said yes. And how can people reach you? How do you want them to reach you now if they have any questions or want to get in touch with you for any
Yeah,
reason?
just go to my social media right now. Just go to my Facebook social media and reach me there. I'm working on some other social media aspects that will be revealed when my show comes on. So you'll be able to see all of that. That's in the works. And so, absolutely. And I look forward to it. But you said something. We're just change agents. That's all we are. We are change agents that have said yes to God. You said that we've just accepted, um, the responsibility of being conduits for the kingdom. We're
Mhm,
just conduits. God is flowing through us to get His message across to His kingdom people
mhm,
and to remind them of who they are in the kingdom. We are king's kids. We are royalty. We are royal priesthoods in the earth, and living anything other than that privilege, we're just living beneath our privileges. And so we want to make sure that everyone is coming to that privilege. And so, I said this to my son earlier, and I've got some great news about my son that I'll share at some point in time. But I said this to him, God Googled us, and he knew the proclivities that we had to be, to just miss it. Yet he still chose us.
Yeah.
So I want to leave this nugget with anyone that thinks that you have to be perfect to be a leader with God. You do not have to be perfect, because when you think that you're perfect, you've said you become equal with God, and He will always leave a little of rawness in us to work on, so that we can depend upon Him. That's what He wants. He wants us totally dependent upon Him.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I tell you what, I can't wait. I can't wait. I know it's going to be an amazing show. And I think Antonio has popped in, and thank you, Antonio, for coming online with us tonight. Pastor Sims, thank you so much. I appreciate you. You know that I do. I am very, very excited about your program and you being a part of the ALH broadcasting family on the other side. You're on the
Right.
side of it now. So I'm very happy about
I've
that.
had a good leader. I've had a good teacher.
Oh. and who is still learning, So we're gonna grow together on this.
Amen.
Yes,
Amen.
we are. Yes, we are. Well, that is it for us for tonight. I thank you all so much for listening, for coming in, for being a part of this moment. Because these announcements will only happen once. Not gonna happen next week. Not gonna happen the week after that. This was the night that we wanted to be sure and let everybody know exactly what was happening. Pastor Sims, you said look for you on Facebook. Now, is Facebook Pastor Steve Sims? Is it Steve Sims?
It's Stephen. It's actually under Stephen Sims.
Mm-hmm. Stephen Sims. Okay. Correct. So you all will know where to find him. And if you can't find him there for any reason, reach out to speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com, and we will make sure that you get in touch with him. His first program, his inaugural program, will be Monday, August the 7th. Mark it on your calendar. You'll be able to find him right here on ALH Broadcasting, and that's going to be on Monday, August the 7th at 7 p.m. That's Pastor Sims. But me, I'm going to be here next week. I'll be right here on Thursday evening at 7 p.m. And I always tell you, come ready to turn down the volume of life just for a little bit and get ready to receive, so that when life speaks, you'll speak life. Thank you, Pastor Sims.
Thank you, Elder Hines. I greatly appreciate you. Thank you, everyone.